Hey guys, welcome back to That Florida Feeling. Are you guys having a good week? Can you guys believe we're halfway through August? Oh my gosh, I know, right? The year is just like gone. Thank you guys for joining me on another stop for our Florida tour. And thank you for making the Haunted Cemeteries episode one of my highest played. You guys are just amazing. The love and support is overwhelming. Thank you guys so much. Thank you for anybody who's interacted on the Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter pages. As always, 5-star reviews. Appreciate it. Thank you for those of you who's given them to me. You guys are just too much. I love it. So this is another one of those weeks where I really didn't know what I was going to do, but I think we're going to talk about something that's fun for Florida, and it's fun for year-round Florida. And it really only works because Florida is basically a tropical paradise year-round. Any guesses? I'm sure if you saw the Facebook and Instagram page, you probably have a pretty good idea of what I'm going to talk about. I'm going to talk about water parks. And you guys tied. You guys absolutely love theme parks and water parks the same. I find that to be amazing. I'm more of a water park fan myself. So, sorry, theme parks are great, but water park's my thing. But thank you to the guys who participated in the polls. Apparently, a lot of people love Typhoon Lagoon. That kind of surprised me. I kind of thought like Volcano Bay, maybe Aquatica. I was just, we're all the same. We all love Typhoon Lagoon. No complaints. But although I'm sad, nobody picked Blizzard Beach. I don't know. That's like the water park that's like close to my heart. It's just like, it's so good, but it's so sad at the same time. But we are going to talk about water parks today. We're going to talk about some that everybody's heard of. We're going to talk about some that are more locally known to each area. And then we're going to talk about some that don't exist anymore, but really kind of set the bar for water parks today. So water parks in Florida just seem to make sense, right? Because we have so many hot days down here. And you can really kind of go to them year round. I know Disney keeps theirs open if it's above 55 degrees and they heat their water. So it's just kind of fun. And of course, Florida has seen water parks come and stay and come and go. And, that's really just the way tourism flows through Florida. And you've got some probably great memories from water parks that don't even exist anymore. Probably some that you wish would come back. And probably some that you can't wait to go to. And we're going to talk about all these. So the first park I'm going to talk about is more of a local one. And it's the Big Kahunas in Destin. Now, if you've ever been to Destin, you know that there's beautiful beaches. There's a lot of stuff to do. By the way, if you ever go to Destin, eat at McGuire's. It's the best place to ever. All right, back to the water parks. But Big Kahunas has been around for quite a while. It actually opened in 1986, and it's got over 40 water attractions. And if you drive by the place, you would never guess that. It doesn't look that big, but it actually is. The park even has an incorporated mini golf course and thrill rides. So you can actually buy a ticket to Big Kahunas for the water park or for the thrill rides. So that's kind of cool on colder days when there's not a water park. You can still enjoy it. It's actually right off US 98 on the main highway, which is, the main highway through Destin. So pretty much right after you go over the bridge and past McGuire's, Big Kahunas is just a little bit further down. And the park has actually got a lot of cool stuff in it. I have never been. I have driven by there. But I didn't realize that it had so many things in it. They have so many different slides. They have lazy rivers, wave pools, and a huge kids area. But their thing is really they have a lot of fast-paced or different kind of water slides. They have the Cowabunga Racer, which just sounds really cool by the name. Also makes me think of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Cowabunga dudes! All right, sorry, back to the water parks. But the Cowabunga Racer actually allows 4 people to race down the slide on speed mats. So, the kind you lay on your stomach and you go flying. It's fun. You feel like you're weightless for a couple seconds. Everybody's been on those kind of slides. They're the best. But this slide is actually the length of a football field. So, I'm pretty sure you can get some good speed going down that one. They also have, of course, body slides and then even a half pipe if you want to fulfill your surfing dreams. I'm afraid to do a half pipe. I'm sure I would just fall flat on my face. But to those of you who do it, kudos to you. They even have tube slides. And then they actually have like a whitewater rapids river. So it's not so much like a lazy river, but it's like a whitewater rapid river. So that's pretty cool. It kind of mixes things up a bit. And then, of course, the lazy river itself for those of you who want to float around and enjoy the day. Like I said, the park is actually really big. Just by looking at it, you wouldn't have guessed that. There's so many different attractions. There's food options. They have cabanas for rent, a place for group gatherings, birthday parties, outings. I'm not gonna lie, I really didn't think this park was that great until I started researching it. And now that I've researched it, the next time I'm in the Panhandle, I really want to go. I thought it was more of a kids only thing, but no, this is totally just kind of like your one for all water park. And like I said, they have a throw park attached to it, which kind of offers something for everyone, especially on those colder days. It's a really good attraction for the Destin area. And by Destin area, I mean from Pensacola to Panama City, since each of those have their own kind of water parks. And it's situated right off US 98, so it's not hard to get to. It's not hard to find. But it just seems like a really cool water park that's locally known for that area. And they have some really good deals. Of course, it's kind of the same with everybody now. If you buy it online, it's cheaper than if you buy it at the park. But if you're ever in the Destin area, or if you've been, let me know how you like this place. I've kind of added this one to my bucket list. I wasn't really sure about it, but now that I've researched it and looked at it, like, this is a place I really want to go. Those water parks look fun. All right, on to the next water park, which is pretty much one that everybody's heard of, and I'm really sad it didn't get more votes. Blizzard Beach in the Walt Disney World Resort properties. And Blizzard Beach is one of the two water parks on the Disney property, and it's usually the less populated one. Every time I went to Blizzard Beach, it was never that full, which made me kind of sad because I think it's really cool, and I'm going to tell you why. So the park opened in 1995, and it was actually the third water park for Disney. And yes, I know I just said that there's two, and we'll revisit a little bit later as to why I've said 3 and then 2, but you'll understand in a minute. Now, the park is really cool because it's themed in a snowy setting with a beach theme, snow theme going on together, and it just kind of works. There's, of course, the ski lift and snow skis being used everywhere for decorations, and the melting snow among the tropical features. Now, you're probably wondering why in the world they would do a theme park with a blizzard setting, and I'll tell you why. It actually comes from Disney legend. And that says that in 1977, a freak snowstorm in January led to Florida's first ski resort. By the way, side note, it does snow in Florida. I was living in the Panhandle and it had an ice storm. So while this is legend, it really could happen. All right, back to the legend. The freak snowstorm in January led to Florida's first ski resort. And because it's Florida, of course, the snow didn't stick around. And leaving this resort that they had just built with all the runs, the lifts, and everything else that was supposed to be used with snow, now dripping wet and sunny. So the investors were just going to give up and walk away because, I mean, what can you really do with a ski resort in Florida? When all of a sudden, they heard a voice at the top of the mountain, and they look up to see a blue alligator sliding down the mountain at top speed. Now, the gator was known as Ice Gator, and he landed in a huge melted puddle at the bottom with a thunderous splash. And they understood right then the potential. A water park! Of course, it's Florida! We can have a water park! And Blizzard Beach was born from this freak snowstorm that became the most slushy, slippery, and exhilarating water park anywhere. And I'll be honest with you guys, I really do love Blizzard Beach, and it really is that fun. Now, if you've ever been, you know that there's a mountain in the middle of Blizzard Beach, right? A mountain in Florida? Really? But it works. And that's actually the main attraction of the park, and it's Mount Gushmore. Perfect name. Which has 3 different slopes for people to get to the bottom. And of course, depending on what you kind of like, there's kind of a different slope for everybody. And you can traverse the mountain either with the stairs or, of course, using that ski lift, which is now a chairlift, that deposits people at the top while letting them choose how to get down on their own. And the slopes are colored for easy use, much like they would have been in a ski slope. So you have green, purple, and red. And of course, each slope has their own attractions. Most of them have 3. The green slope has Summit Plummet, which is the 3rd tallest and fastest free fall slide in the world. That is not for me. I applaud anybody who rides that. Not my thing. They also have Tugboat Springs, which is the world's longest family whitewater raft ride, which is probably one of my favorites because you get to go down a series of waterfalls and turns, and it's just fun, and there's water coming from everywhere, and you eventually end up at the bottom of the mountain. And then, of course, there's the Slush Gusher, And it's another slide where it's a 90-foot tall body slide that actually allows you to achieve airtime. Not many water slides have the ability to achieve airtime, so that's kind of a cool one for this. Again, not for me, probably more for you guys. If anybody's ridden it, let me know how you loved it. So that's the green slope. Then there's the purple slope, and they have the downhill double dipper. Say that one fast. Which is actually side-by-side racing tubes. So you can go down this tube racing someone, and it'll send you flying up to 25 miles an hour. I remember riding this one, and it was actually really fun. I don't know if I achieved the 25 miles an hour. I probably would have been screaming my head off. But I remember it being a really fun slide and a fun park. You can also ride the Snowstormers, which is a mat ride. The ones, again, like where you lay down on your stomach and you go flying. And you can pick from 3 different slides to go down. And the last slide on the purple is the Toboggan Racers, which is a water slide that sends you flying down on mats as well, and you can see the mountain as you go by. I'm not going to lie, the purple is probably my favorite. But we have to talk about the red slope. And, of course, the red slope really only has one attraction, and it's Run-Off Rapids. Gosh, say that again. And the Rapids is a tube slide that sends guests down the mountains on tubes. The only thing I didn't like about this one, and fair warning, you have to carry the tube up with you, up the stairs. I'm lazy. All right, just let me get up to the top, let me go down the slide, and be done. So, if you're like me, it's for you. You got to try it once, but you're not probably happy about carrying that tube up all those stairs. All right, so now that you've gone to the top of the mountain and you traverse back down, whichever way you choose, you can enjoy Meltaway Bay, which is actually a really large wave pool at the bottom of the mountain. And if a wave pool's not for you, there's also Cross Country Creek, which allows you to travel the perimeter of the park in a lazy river, of course, with many stops getting on and off. There's also a ski patrol training camp for kids that allows them to play on icebergs to cross the pool, a body slide, and of course other fun attractions for the littler ones that can't quite get on the big slides just yet. Of course, the park has the best of Disney-inspired foods and merchandise, and it is open year-round. The fun thing about Disney is that when they're doing refurbishments, because they refurbish them every season, is that when one is closed, the other's open. So if Typhoon Lagoon is closed, Blizzard Beach is your place to be, and vice versa. And of course, we're going to talk about Typhoon Lagoon later in the episode. All right, the next water park I'm going to talk about is another hugely popular one in Orlando. Of course, this is another one on my bucket list just because it just looks so cool. And that's Aquatica. Of course, Aquatica is owned by SeaWorld, and it literally sits right next to the parks in Orlando. The park was actually announced in 2007, but did not open until 2008. And it has quite a few attractions, including body slides, raft slides, lazy rivers, and of course pools for people to enjoy. This park has more of a Southern Pacific theme, with quite a few mascots that include a turtle, a kiwi, and a gecko there to greet people and to enjoy your stay in the park. Now, the park also has animal features around the water features that allow people to enjoy nature while having fun in the Florida sun. They do have 2 wave pools that share a man-made beach for lounging and taking a break from the sun. Now, the park's signature attraction is actually called the Dolphin Plunge, which sounds really cool. And it's 2 body slides, and the reason they got their name is because it actually passes through a pool containing a pod of dolphins. I don't know if I would have time to see the dolphins as I'm sliding through them, but it's a really cool concept. Now, Aquatica also has Breakaway Falls, which is a fun free fall drop slide. My gosh, this is horrible. That offers ultimate thrills and water slides. They also have 10 different other types of slides for everybody's enjoyment. Maybe the free fall's not for you if you're like me and that's just not your thing. They also have 2 wave pools for your water enjoyment, and the wave pools also are different levels. So if you want larger waves, you go to a certain one, and if you're less adventurous, you go to the other one. And that, of course, has that sandy beach in the middle to split, so you can enjoy your time just relaxing in the Florida sun. And, of course, the park also incorporated a children's area to include smaller slides and water play areas. Now, if you've ever been to Orlando and you've heard of Aquatica, you've also probably heard Discovery Cove. I'm not going to go in super depth about Discovery Cove on this one. I will in later episode, but that's because, to me, Discovery Cove is not a water park in the sense of throw rides, slides, water fountains, lazy rivers, and things like that. Discovery Cove is actually really cool because it allows you a more up-close and personal experience with the marine life, such as swimming with dolphins and seeing the reefs. And I will talk about that in a later episode, but I didn't want you to think that I had ignored that one. But definitely Aquatica is one to check out, especially if you're at SeaWorld. It is on my bucket list as well, just because I love water parks, but also because it just seems like something different from the everyday, standard free fall slides. It seems like they have more of a habitat going where you can actually view animals as you're going through the park. So that seems kind of cool to me. Maybe not for everyone, but that's my bucket list. All right, the next park I'm going to talk about actually got a few votes on the poll. I really had never I've heard of this park after living in the Tampa area, but I had never had the desire to go there, but I do now. And that's Adventure Island. And Adventure Island sits across from Busch Gardens in Tampa. By the way, side note, it is Tampa. Tampa Bay is a body of water. Tampa is the area you live in. Sorry, that is just a pet peeve. Okay, back to the water parks. So, Adventure Island actually opened in 1980. And it's also owned by SeaWorld Parks and Entertainment, which I didn't realize that SeaWorld owned that much in Florida. I guess they do. But this park seems really cool. They actually have 9 different rides and 5 different pools. Colossal Curl seems to be one of their most popular rides. And it's also the largest at Adventure Island, and it's 70 feet tall. The raft holds 2 to 4 people on this ride, and it combines thrills and funnels. And so basically, if you look at it, it looks like you go through some funnels, and then you go up some large hills, and you eventually end up in a pool. And it seems like one of those fast-paced water rides where you're like, oh my gosh, it's over, I've got to go again. So definitely one for the more thrilling. Caribbean Corkscrew and Wahoo Run are also 2 other super popular rides in this park. There are also some raft rides. And then the Rambling Bayou is the lazy river that takes you around the park and kind of deposits you off at different parts of the park whether you want to get some delicious foods in the park or you want to relax by the pool and just kind of someplace to make your day enjoyable. There wasn't a lot of information on this park other than I had a lot of people saying that this is actually a really fun one. I definitely want to add it to my bucket list. And it just seems really nice that it's really close to Busch Gardens, so it's something to make your, if you go to one, then you can go to the other. So, it seems pretty cool, pretty good for Tampa Bay. Excuse me, Tampa. So the next park I'm going to talk about is actually one of the newer ones to Florida. And it's probably one you've heard about if you've lived or visited Florida within the past couple years. I'm talking about Volcano Bay. And if you're a Universal fan, then you've absolutely heard about Volcano Bay because it's the newest water park to the Universal Orlando Resort. Now, the water park actually opened in May of 2017, and it features Krakatoa. I'm never going to say that right, but I believe it's Krakatoa. And that's the volcano that you see if you're driving down I-4, if you're driving anywhere on I-Drive and you look over, that's the volcano you see as the centerpiece to Volcano Bay. Now, Volcano Bay did replace Wet n Wild, which I'm sad about and we'll talk about later, but it replaced Wet n Wild as the water park for Universal Resorts. And the volcano is the park's main icon, but it also has 3 slides housed within that volcano, which I think is really cool that they built it around it. There's and I'm not going to say these right, let's just go ahead and accept that, the Kokiri Body Plunge, which is the tallest body slide in America at 125 feet tall. And it's actually the first body slide to travel through a pool full of other guests. I don't know if you would have time to see these other guests as you're flying past them, but that's definitely kind of a cool addition to this body slide. Again, probably not one I'm going to ride, but for you body slide enthusiasts, there you go. Now, the park also uses a really unique way of payment and bands. And of course, if you've been to Disney, you know that there's the Disney band. But Universal kind of one-upped it. And you can use these bands not only for payments, but also to save your place in line. So for line queues. And you can even interact with environmental features such as turning on lights and setting off water features as you walk through the park. So that's just kind of an added bonus. And it also makes it really nice not to have to go to your locker, get your money, buy your stuff, go back to your locker, put your money back. So it's kind of an extra bonus. Like, hey, I want, a cocktail while I lay in this cabana. So you just go boop your little thing and you're on your way. So that's kind of a nice addition to really a worry-free kind of day at the water park. Now, this park is done in a Polynesian theme, and it has 4 main areas. The Krakatau area, which is the volcano, and it has the 4 attractions in it. It has 3 inside and 1 out, which has an aqua coaster, a body plunge, and of course 2 body slides, the one that sends you through the pool, and a racer, which actually is the one, okay, anytime I say racer slides, just imagine the mat. So you're laying on the mat and you're going full force down the slide. They also have the Wave Village, which is pretty much more for a relaxing area, and this is where they have the cabanas that you can rent, and I recommend renting them early. They go fast. The main wave pool, some more body slides, and of course other pools that are just meant for relaxation. So when you're done riding the slide and you just want to hang out in the Florida sun, this is probably the place for you. The River Village is more for families and younger guests, as it contains a lazy river, a children's play area, and they have 2 rides in there that are multi-passenger raft slides. So more for like you and someone else, or you and a couple people, depending on which one you're on, for the 2 or the 4 passenger. But this is more for family friendly, with people wanting to go together. And of course, the last area is the Rainforest Village, and this is where most of the rides are actually set. And this has 4 different slides, including, and I'm going to say this wrong, Tiawa, the Fearless River. And this is where you go through a stimulated whitewater rapid, which sounds absolutely fun to me. Another one I can't wait to ride. Of course, in true Universal style, this park does have food and drinks for guests to enjoy, and that's where the pay band comes in. I've seen a lot of people really talking about this park since it opened. I've not yet been. Haven't really lived in the area in a while. But I really want to go. It looks just like such a fun water park, and you always see everybody there. And I've never seen anything really bad about this park. I always see people talking about how they rented a cabana, or they couldn't rent a cabana because it was reserved so quickly. And so it's another one on my bucket list. Pretty much all these water parks are probably going to be on my bucket list, but this is definitely one of them. The slides sound amazing. The theming sounds great. So if you want to visit this park, get there early. I even actually saw somebody that said get there late and go at the end, and you can get stuff for cheaper, which I don't know. You Universal people probably know better than me. But, of course, as soon as you know you're going, maybe rent the cabana, enjoy the fun, really enjoy your day at the water park and in the Florida sun. Side note, wear sunscreen, guys. All right. So the next one I'm going to talk about is a smaller one, and it's actually one that I've already mentioned in another episode. It was one that I mentioned in my Florida State Park episode, and it's Buccaneer Bay at Weeki Wachee Springs. And, of course, this place has been welcoming people to the area since 1947. Weeki Wachee Springs is amazing. They're the state park that has the mermaids. But this park actually has a water park inside of it with 2 water slides, the Cannonball and the Pirate's Revenge. And of course, there's a white sandy beach next to the springs where you can relax, or you can swim and snorkel, go down the water slides, or just really relax in nature. The park also has a natural lazy river, which is kind of cool. You can rent tubes and float the day away in it as you float around the swimming area or relax in the swimming area. But Buccaneer Bay is definitely the perfect place to spend your whole day taking in nature. Of course, seeing the mermaids at the park, and then really having fun in, Florida's natural environment. I didn't go too in-depth in that one, but if you want to hear more about it, definitely check out my Florida State Parks episode. But it really does sound like an amazing water park. It's, again, one of those, you definitely have to get there early. This is a state park where people line up to get in. But if you go, I hope you go to enjoy nature and, of course, the water park. All right, the next park I'm going to talk about is apparently the most popular. I'm going to talk about Typhoon Lagoon. And I'm not going to lie, I love Typhoon Lagoon. I really do. Blizzard Beach just has a place in my heart. But Typhoon Lagoon is great because they really have something for everyone. Side note, I always end up going to Typhoon Lagoon when it's rainy. So whenever I'm there, it's fantastic because there's never anybody there. You can ride the rides multiple times because there's literally nobody else in line with you. Because, of course, Disney doesn't shut down for rain, only for lightning. So if you're over there and it starts to rain, as long as they don't call a 101, you're fine. You know, it's a place to enjoy, especially when there is rain, because then you literally can ride Crush and Gusher like 10 times and nobody cares. All right, back to the water park. Sorry. So Typhoon Lagoon actually opened in 1989, and it is home to one of the largest wave pools in the world. And if you've ever been there, you know what I'm talking about. So how did Typhoon Lagoon happen? Well, Disney legend is Typhoon Lagoon happened because a typhoon hit and wreaked havoc on the beautiful, pristine paradise of that area. Now, the typhoon caused ships, pieces to go everywhere, fishing gear to go awry, surfboards were strewn everywhere, and of course, poor Miss Tilly. Now, Miss Tilly, if you've ever been to Typhoon Lagoon, you know Miss Tilly is the shrimp boat. They got impaled on Mount Mayday. She sits there today, and she erupts with 50-foot geysers every half hour. Now, the lagoon also has Laguna Gator there as its mascot to welcome you and to show you Miss Tilly. This park was actually the second most visited park in 2016, and it's actually the only water park in Disney that lies within the limits of Lake Buena Vista. And if you've ever been to Disney, there's Lake Buena Vista and there's Bay Park, and this is the original. So this is definitely one of the cooler water parks. Now, the main feature, of course, is Mount Mayday with Miss Tilly on it, and it is located behind the wave pool, so it's kind of the center attraction of the park. The mountain is really a starting point for many of the water slides in the park. It does feature Humunga Cowabunga, again, Ninja Turtles there, which is an enclosed speed slide which sends riders down 5 stories within seconds. One of my favorite rides. I love this one. If you heard my husband, he just said, no, I didn't. Okay, maybe I didn't, but I thought I did. All right, whatever. Fine, whatever. I like Crush and Gusher. Leave me alone. All right, so the next one we're talking about is the storm slides. They're also popular. They have 3 different body slides. This is the one I liked. I liked storm slides. Yeah, because you go up the ladder or the stairs, and then you get to pick 3 different ones. Okay, my bad. I do like storm sliders better than Cowabunga. My bad. But there's 3 different body slides, and they send you through twists and turns in the pools below. Of course, there's Gangplank Falls, which is a fun family tube ride. And then Mayday Falls, which is another fun tube ride, but it's got more of a rough, rapid feel to it. If you're looking for a smoother ride, you could try Keel Hall Falls. So you do go through some waterfalls and caves in that one, but it's not quite as rough as Gangplank or Mayday. I think I fell out of my tube on Mayday. So, yeah, I did. So, definitely look for which one is more your style. Of course, the main attraction and the best part of Typhoon Lagoon is Crush and Gusher. If you've ever been, you know what I'm talking about. They play that so many times when you're standing in line. But it is a water coaster where you are propelled by water jets through turns and drops. Of course, you have 3 different slides to choose from. I think my favorite is the coconut. Of course, they have single rider and 2 riders. And of course, it's just so much fun. It sends you flying into the pool below. I can honestly say that there are many times where you go on this ride and you don't think you're going to stay on the tube, or you get to the pool below and you go flipping out because that's just the way it happens. It's just so much fun. Of course, Misadventure Falls is another family ride. It's more of the newer one, if you've ever been. And it's the one that sends you up the conveyor belt before it sends you down the slide filled with turns and drops and waterfalls. It's another fun one that you have to have a couple people in. It's more of a big raft ride, but it's definitely one you should check out if you're ever there. Of course, if none of these are really the style for you, there's Castaway Creek, which is the lazy river. And it really does let you go with your own pace with different currents. You can get off and on at many entry places. And it's just a fun way to go around the park. Beats walking, right? Now, the park also has a kids area with rides and pools for you to play in. There's a large selection of food and drinks that are, of course, Disney themed. And they have an amazing Tropical Storm cocktail if you really want to fully relax in the park. I liked that one, and I like the Rum Runner. Definitely a fun place to check out. They do have lockers for you to rent. And, of course, gift shops if you forget anything. There is a nice sandy beach that you can just relax in the Florida sun with loungers and chairs. I actually love this park mainly because the wave pool, of course, it's a zero entry, so you walk into it. But say you're wanting to get in the pool, but you're not wanting to get all the way in the pool. Because let's face it, Typhoon Lagoon's waves can get pretty big at times. Which is, of course, why they sound the alarm. But still, sometimes it's just nice to sit back at the entry of the pool and just let them lap over you like it would be in the beach. There's really something for everyone at Typhoon Lagoon. But I'm kind of mad at this park. They took away my favorite thing. Typhoon Lagoon used to be home to Shark Reef, and if you've ever been or you remember Shark Reef, you know what I'm talking about. It's where you could snorkel through the sharks on a artificial reef with a tanker. And it was so fun because it was a man-made lagoon and it had rays or smaller sharks or tropical fish, and you could snorkel and you could get right up to them, and it was just so different. It offered you such a unique experience. Sadly, it closed in 2016. Citing issues with the exhibit. The exhibit has since been dismantled. The tanker's been hauled away. The sharks, of course, have gone to other homes, and the fish. But if you've been there and you know it, then you know that this was a great and fun little extra thing you could do at this park. Now it's the quick service bar and an eatery. So if you've ever seen it, you've gone, you'll know exactly. If you've been and you see this eatery, you're going to be like, wasn't that the shark? And yeah, it was. But of course, Typhoon Lagoon is home to many other things. They actually do a lot of behind the scenes and or late night experiences for Disney guests. I got to be so lucky one time to go to Typhoon Lagoon as a cast member. All right, surprise, I was a cast member at Disney. And I got to go for a cast member experience. One of my fellow cast members won in a drawing they do every now and then. You get to go to like fun things, you enter and they draw your name, and this was an after hours Typhoon Lagoon experience. It was really fun. We got to see characters, we got to be in the pool. There wasn't a lot of people there because it was cast member only kind of thing. It was a really fun experience, and Typhoon Lagoon is known to doing this. They do late night things with DJs and pools. And the cool thing about Typhoon Lagoon also is, and this is something I don't really tell you, is this wave pool is actually so big that you can actually surf in it. You can actually get into this pool and have a surfboard. Not when people are there, it's only at certain times. But you can actually surf this pool. So it's just a really fun experience. So if you're ever Disney and you really want to go to a water park, as much as I love Blizzard Beach, I have to recommend you Typhoon Lagoon. It's just a fun experience pretty much for everybody. Have I made you want to visit a park yet? I have a couple more to tell you about. If you haven't found one yet, maybe you'll find one in these next few. So the next one I'm going to talk to you about is Legoland. Yes, Legoland has a water park. It's pretty new. But it's another fun one to visit, especially for the kids. The water park is right next to the Legoland, which is located in Winter Haven, Florida. And it's kind of more of an add-on to the main park. And it's become really a family favorite for many reasons. Of course, the park has a variety of activities that includes 2 large slides, a lazy river, and a water playground. But because it's Legoland and you cannot be outdone, Legoland has a really cool experience for their lazy river. They actually let you create a unique build-a-raft from Lego blocks. You can actually build your own raft to go down the river. You can customize out of giant Lego pieces, and I feel that is just insanely cool on its own. So nothing ever looks the same. Of course, if Lazy River is a little too slow paced for you, there's the Joker Soaker, and that's a family fun 3-level slide. And of course, the 300-gallon water bucket that will help cool you off from the Florida heat. If you have littler ones, they can also have fun in the Duplo. The bigger blocks. They have a Splash Safari that has shorter slides and larger blocks for their creative side. Now, I'll be honest with you, I didn't think that Legoland Water Park would be that exciting, but I kind of want to go just to build my own ride. I mean, who doesn't love playing with Legos? But it's definitely a place for those of you who want to spend the day. So go to the theme park and then go to the water park, and it just kind of creates a whole day of family fun while being creative. The next theme park I'm going to talk about is one that I had heard of but never been to. Again, it looks like a really fun one. It's apparently well known in South Florida, and it's called Rapids Water Park in Riviera Beach, Florida, and it's been around since 1979. The park is actually super popular in South Florida with lines always, and apparently there's always lines at this park, but it's worth it. But it seems really strange because this park sounds huge. So the park is actually 30 acres, and it has over 35 slides and water-related attractions. It actually boasts two seven-story drop slides. So that's going to be a nope from me, but if that's something you're into, definitely check out these massive drop slides. The Big Thunder is one of their slides, and it's a 45-degree drop slide that leaves you in complete darkness and a feeling of weightlessness, which there's only a couple water parks in Florida or even in the country that really have this ability to make you feel weightlessness. Definitely a cool thing to check out. The park is also home to two Pro Slide tornado slides, which leaves people in the dark and has ultimate thrills for their rides. It's a really fast-paced water slide. It looks extremely exciting. It's kind of what I want to go on, another bucket list thing. My Florida bucket list is growing just from this podcast. Can you tell? All right, the next slide that sounds really cool at this park is the Brain Drain, which is a dual trapdoor water slide. Again, one of the 7-story drops. And it's about 8 seconds to give riders the ultimate thrill. So basically, you're standing there, the floor drops out, and you're off. No, for me. But, again, there's a lot of people that like those rides. So 7 stories, 8 seconds, definitely something you should check out. Now, of course, if you're like me and you want a little bit of thrill, but not that much thrill, they also have open-air water slides, speed slides, and, of course, body slides to make your day better. The park is complete with a children's area to make this family friendly, and really kind of something for everyone. There is a wave pool and a water obstacle course, which are just fun, And then the lazy river. No water park is complete without a lazy river, guys. Come on. For those who just want a slower paced day and fun in the sun. Now, this park is actually well known because it's also been featured in music videos and commercials, and it's definitely popular in South Florida for locals and tourists alike. I have a feeling, though, if you're there after certain months, it's probably more more locals than tourists. Most of us know to go after school starts. So yeah, side note, if you ever go to Florida, the best times to visit are not in the summer because of hurricanes and bad weather. But if you go in the winter when it's still open, because hey, Florida's tropical paradise, some of the lines get a little bit shorter. That's my pro tip for the day. Now, Florida's home to many different water parks, and while I couldn't talk about everyone, a few honorable mentions include Daytona Lagoon with its year-round fun. They have a water park open from March to October, and then a thrill-ride park open the rest of the time. Sunsplash in Cape Coral, Sailfish Splash in Stewart, and Shipwreck Island in Panama City. Now, I have been to Shipwreck Island in Panama City, and I did not feel the need to talk about this park. I'm sure in its heyday, it was a fantastic park. There are water slides and wave pools, and of course, there's a really cool bar where you hold on and it lets you, it's not a zip line because you're not hooked in, you just hold on, but it sends you down over the pool and you get to fall whenever you want. And so I'm sure in its heyday it was great. I just didn't find that it was really as good as it could have been. I don't know. And I'm sure there's going to be some people that message me and say, you didn't like it? Yeah, I'm sorry. I really didn't. It is fun, especially for younger kids. But for me, I was just kind of like, eh. So, Shipwreck Island in Panama City is definitely another one you can check out. So, and of course, if you've been to a lot of the resorts, there's a lot of resorts now, especially around Disney, in the Orlando, Kissimmee area, that have actually installed like splash areas, water slides, and lazy rivers, even wave pools that kind of help to add to the fun, because it really is hot in Florida and you really want to do cool down, and what's more fun than splashing around in a pool? So, I really can't talk about water parks in Florida without mentioning the few that have come before these. And some of these we're going to remember, some of these we're not. The first one I'm going to talk about is one that I definitely remember. And a lot of people that visited Orlando before 2016 probably have either seen or been to this place. And I'm talking about Wet 'n Wild. Wet 'n Wild opened in 1977, and it was located on International Drive, or I Drive, as it's usually known. And it was founded by George Millay. Same guy that opened SeaWorld. Fun note. And the park was really a well-known attraction in the area, and it really was a landmark for people staying in the area, and you really could see it driving down I-Drive. And it went through many expansions, refurbishments, creating unique and new rides to bring guests to the park. And it was home to a water-powered gondola ride where you shot water cannons and moved yourself along. I mean, that sounds kind of cool. Inline tube slides and numerous rides that sent people flying around corners, swirling around the bowls or funnels, and providing a lot of family fun. This park, though, was eventually sold to Universal and ultimately closed in 2016, making way for Volcano Bay that we've already talked about, that is now Universal Orlando Resort's main water park for today. Wet n Wild was really fun. It was just kind of a place you could go and you could do different things. The park was always crowded, but it was well known for that area, and it really was kind of the first water park in that part of Florida that wasn't a Disney water park. So I kind of got sad when they knocked down Wet n Wild, but of course I'm excited to visit Volcano Bay. Now the next park that's been forgotten, or I really want to talk about, is also part of another state park. And that is the Wild Waters in Silver Springs, Florida. Now, Wild Waters is the sister park to the Silver Springs Nature Theme Park. A lot of words there. And this water park opened with nature really in mind. It had some shaded areas for relaxing, picnic areas, a snack bar, a fast food counter, and of course, your water rides. And of course, the park continued to change with times, adding the Hurricane, which was a figure-8 double flume that let riders take tubes down the slides before depositing them in a splash pool. The park also featured Osceola's Revenge and Bunyan Bend, which are dual flumes that took people through different twists and turns, with Osceola's Revenge being the more thrilling of the two. The park even eventually added a wave pool that allowed people to relax, while 4-foot-high waves could crash over them. There's also a sun deck surrounding the pool, so it made it for everyone. They continued to upgrade by adding a toilet bowl flume, so you go down the slide, you go around, you finally drop. That was added in 2008, but of course, ultimately this park just couldn't stand the test of time, and it closed in 2016. The park was fully demolished in 2018, so that they can make a new entry into Silver Springs State Park. You can still see YouTube videos of the urban exploration before they fully demolish this park. I definitely recommend checking it out. It is really cool to see it. And kind of one I wish I could have visited in its heyday. It does look like a lot of old Florida charm and fun. So did you know that Six Flags had a theme park in Florida? Well, not really a theme park, but a water park. But don't feel bad if you didn't. I didn't until I was researching this. They actually had a park called Six Flags Atlantis in Hollywood, Florida from 1979 to 1992. Now, of course, SeaWorld didn't own it during that time, but they were the most well-known that owned it when it was in existence. The park had a wave pool, it had a lake with water ski shows, and a 7-story slide tower, arcades, and even shows to bring in the guests to make it family-friendly. Now, the park wasn't originally owned by Six Flags, but it was bought in 1983 and sold again in 1989. The theme park went by Atlantis for most of its time, but was most well known when it was owned by the Six Flags franchise. The park was a huge hit in the area, but it ultimately closed when Hurricane Andrew devastated South Florida. The park never could recoup and never did reopen. They sold the land and the assets, and now the land that the park sat on was a shopping center. And in a cruel twist of irony, the wave pool had a Kmart built over it that's also since closed. Another park that I wish I could have visited in its heyday, because I've been to some other Six Flags when they had water parks and they seemed like they were a lot of fun, so I'm sure this one was too back in its heyday. Now, gonna go back to something I mentioned earlier in the episode. I said that Disney had 3 water parks, and they did. I'm sure if you're a Disney fanatic, you already know what I'm talking about, but I'm referring to the now gone, yet not forgotten Disney's River Country. Disney's River Country was its first theme park, and it opened in 1976 along the shores of Bay Lake. Good Lord, words are killing me today, guys. And it was near the Fort Wilderness Resort and Campgrounds. And if you've been to Fort Wilderness Resort and Campgrounds, you could even walk around part of it before it was completely closed off. The park was themed as a rustic, old-fashioned swimming hole with touches of Tom Sawyer. The park was well known because it had a sandy bottom and unique filtering system lake that brought in the water from Bay Lake and actually was filtered it and then put it out into a swimming hole equipped with tire swings and slides and just family fun. The park did dam off part of the lake and create the swimming hole as a little bit higher so that the natural looking lagoon did not get invaded by the higher levels of the lake when it did rise, so that the water stayed filtered and okay for people to swim in. Now, the park did feature 5 water slides and 2 pools. One was a chlorinated pool with water slides, and one was a natural, seemingly man-made kind of lagoon. And of course, there was a children's area. Now, the park looked fun, and it really was a hit in the 70s and 80s, and it had a lot of different attractions beyond just water slides because it's Disney. Now, the park stayed a pretty main attraction up until really Typhoon Lagoon and Blizzard Beach were built, and then it just really couldn't compete. The park was eventually closed in 2001. Of course, that's kind of a long time after Typhoon Lagoon opened in 89 and Blizzard Beach in 95. The park was supposed to be refurbished, but it, of course, never reopened. The other parks just had more features, more room, and allowed more guests into the park. The park officially did close in 2001 amid some controversy. There were deaths that occurred at the park. Of course, one child dying from an amoebic infection to the brain from water, because it can occur in naturally fresh water in warm weather. Even with the filtration system, it can happen. Of course, Disney fought this, and I don't blame them. Sometimes it just happens. If you go swimming in a lake, you're prone to it, but it's super rare. So I'm not trying to scare anybody, but it is super rare. So I really don't think that one can be attributed fully to Disney. But of course, there were two more deaths that were noted that were drownings in 1982 and 1989. These are both tragic, and that's part of Disney's downfall in this, is that they didn't have enough people who could watch over the lifeguard towers with the amount of people that were streaming into the park, which ultimately caused part of it to close. Disney officially announced in 2005 that River Country would permanently be closed, and it is set abandoned ever since. Now, when they opened Mickey's Jamboree at the resort, because literally if you ever look at a picture, the Wilderness Resort and Campgrounds literally sit next to the River Country. You could actually walk around parts of the end that showed where River Country could have been when the Mickey's Jamboree was going on at the campgrounds. It's really strange, though. They just had a big fence around it, and of course you could kind of see through the fence. And a lot of people did end up urban exploring the place, definitely the island. You can see YouTube videos, pictures, Reddit, Tumblr, take your pick. There's numerous pictures of this place abandoned and shows it in decay. Of course, Disney made the announcement in 2016 that it was going to be no more. They did end up eventually draining the pool and filling it in with some sand to, I guess, stop the mosquitoes from doing their natural thing. And if you ever got to go to River Country, I would love to hear your stories. Of course, River Country is no more. Disney announced plans for a new resort and have since pretty much bulldozed most of whatever River Country had left of it, which is really sad. It sounds like a really cool experience of, Disney and their lost piece of their history. If you've ever gone, please let me know. I've seen the videos, I've seen the YouTube. It just sounds like a really cool place that Disney had at one time. Of course, they've since upgraded with their new water parks, and I'm sure that they'll continue to upgrade those. But still, that sounds like a really cool place. Now, I hope I've talked about your favorite water park. If I haven't, please let me know. Maybe you found a new one to go visit the next time you're in Florida on vacation, or if you're a local, one down the road from you. Water parks really are kind of the best way to cool off on a hot Florida day and have fun. But good news, even if it's not a super hot day in Florida, Disney heats their pools, so you can still enjoy yourself in a water park while the rest of the country is dealing with cold weather or snow. They are a fun place for everyone, family friendly. Don't forget to wear your sunscreen, guys. The sun is hot in Florida, and just take care of yourselves. Drink plenty of water if you do go to one of these parks. Now, and that's Butterfinger making his podcast debut. I apologize. If you do go to one of these water parks, remember to enjoy yourself, to be family friendly, and do not become a Florida man. Now, the Florida man story today comes from 2018, and it's not really from a water park, but it's from a park next to water. So, a man in Clearwater climbed on top of a piece of equipment in Clearwater Beach and proceeded to yell at children. What did he yell at children? He proceeded to yell at them how babies are made. Don't do this. Do not be this Florida man. This is not okay. Do not be this person. Now, I hope you guys have had fun listening to this episode and are already planning your next trip to the water park. Thank you so much for listening. Don't forget to check out the Facebook group and the Facebook page. Of course, the Instagram page and polls that I post. Invite your friends. And please don't forget to leave a 5-star review on Apple. I saw that someone did, but they didn't write anything, so I can't tell them thank you. So thank you to whoever you are that left me a 5-star review. Much appreciated. Thank you for letting me ramble on and continue to tell you guys about Florida. Send me your Florida stories for that upcoming listener episode to thatfloridafeel@gmail.com. Of course, let me know if you have any suggestions for topics. And of course, as always, you guys, that's your daily dose of sunshine.